We've seen culture kill an icon. We've watched the government ban poison from our trees. We've mourned the death of anticipation itself. But if you thought those Christmas traditions vanished quietly, you haven't seen anything yet, because the items in Part 2 didn't just disappear. They burned, they scalded, they shamed you publicly. These weren't just decorations or catalogs. These were dangers, hiding in plain sight. Fire hazards hot enough to melt skin. Social pressure systems disguised as charity. And a beloved tradition that was literally the smell of your house almost catching fire. This is Part 2, and this time, the danger was real. Part 6. The smell of danger. Today, we decorate our homes with LEDs. They are tiny, brilliant, and miraculous points of light. They are efficient. They are cold. You can wrap a string of 1,000 LEDs around a dry piece of paper, and nothing will happen. They are perfectly, boringly safe. But the baby boomer generation, they didn't just light their houses, they threatened them. Meet the C7 and the C9. Before the microchip, this was it. This was the only option for outdoor decorating. And they were not lights in the modern sense. They were furnaces. These were not tiny plastic-encased diodes. These were bulbs. Big, heavy torpedoes of painted glass, screwed into thick, industrial-grade sockets that looked like they belonged on a battleship. And they didn't sip power, they guzzled it. A single short string of 25 C9 bulbs used more electricity than your entire modern refrigerator. Families would watch their December electric bills quadruple, a cost that was simply accepted as the price of Christmas. But the financial cost wasn't the real danger. The true danger was the heat. These bulbs were, in essence, 7-watt and 9-watt heaters. They were not warm to the touch. They were scalding. They were hot enough to melt plastic, hot enough to cause third-degree burns. They were an absolute, unmitigated fire catastrophe, waiting to happen. They scorched the paint on houses. They melted the artificial needles of any tree they touched. And when draped on a dry, real pine wreath, they were a ticking time bomb. Fire departments across the country dreaded them. They were, without exaggeration, a primary cause of house fires. Every single year. So, if they were so expensive, so inefficient, and so lethally dangerous, why do people miss them? Why does an entire generation remember them with such profound sensory nostalgia? Because of this. The smell. That intense, dangerous, inefficient heat. It created something that our cold, safe, modern LEDs can never replicate. A multi-sensory, atmospheric experience. When you walked past a house decorated with C9s, you didn't just see the lights. You felt the heat radiating off them, and you smelled them. It was the unmistakable smell of the hot glass, the scorching paint on the bulb. And most of all, the smell of the hot pine needles on the trees, and wreaths they were dangerously close to. It was the scent of Christmas, and that scent was the smell of burning. It was a visceral, warm, aromatic experience that was, in reality, just the ambient odor of your house almost catching on fire. What killed them? Technology. The LED. It was a total, logical, and complete execution. The LED was cheaper, brighter, and above all, cold. We made a trade. We swapped that dangerous, nostalgic, multi-sensory experience for safety, for efficiency, and perhaps for a little less magic. We've seen how a decoration could poison you, and how another could burn your house down. But the next tradition on our list wasn't a physical danger at all. It was a social one. Part 7. The Public Moral Ledger. How do you donate to charity today? Think about it. It is a silent, private act. You click a donate button on a website. You Venmo a friend's fundraiser. You round up your bill at the grocery store. It is an invisible transaction, hidden between you and a server. No one knows, unless you choose to make a public post about it. But in the 20th century, charity wasn't always private. In fact, one of the most powerful and widespread holiday traditions was a public test. It was an annual test of your moral character, a test of your community standing. And it was delivered right to your mailbox. This is a Christmas seal. Look closely. It's not a postage stamp. It has no monetary value. It could not get your letter from New York to Ohio. That was the post office's job. This was something far more powerful. This was proof. Here's how the system worked. Every year, the American Lung Association would mail out sheets of these beautiful, festive, decorative stamps to nearly every home in America, and they asked for a donation. If you donated, if you did your part, you were authorized to use them. And where did you put them? On the single most public piece of social communication. The outside of every single Christmas card you mailed. This is where the quiet genius and the immense social pressure of the system kicked in. In the 1960s and 70s, sending Christmas cards wasn't an optional hobby. It was a critical, non-negotiable social ritual. You sent dozens, maybe hundreds. Your mailman saw them. Your neighbors saw them. And most importantly, your entire social circle of friends, family, and colleagues received them. And when that envelope arrived, they would instantly see two things: the postage stamp and the Christmas seal. Or they would see a conspicuous, empty, shameful space right next to it. This tiny, 1-inch sticker was a public declaration. It was a badge of honor. It said, "I am a good person. I am a charitable member of my community. I gave." To send a card without the seal, it was a quiet, public failure. It suggested you were cheap, that you were, well, not charitable. It was a brilliant, nationwide, social pressure-driven engine for communal good. A virtue signal for an entire generation, before the term ever existed. So, what force could possibly kill this powerful tradition? This time, it wasn't a single technology. It was a total cultural collapse of the very vehicle it relied on. The Christmas card itself died. Why spend hours writing, addressing, licking, and stamping 100 envelopes when you can post "Merry Christmas" once to everyone you've ever met on Facebook? Why buy a $5 card when you can send a free animated e-card in 10 seconds? The vehicle for the seal was annihilated by the internet. And second, charity itself changed. We moved from these massive communal, everybody does this one thing drives to the fractured, privatized, digital GoFundMe world we live in now. The Christmas seal didn't just vanish because it was old-fashioned. It vanished because the very idea of a shared public community that could be shamed or celebrated as one disappeared right along with it. We've seen a public test of your morals, but our next item wasn't a test at all. It was a gift. A strange, primitive, technological gift designed to solve a very modern problem using just 17 seconds of film. Part 8. The 17-second infinity. Today, if you want a fireplace, you have a universe of options. You can summon a 4K crackling fireplace on Netflix, an 8-hour crystal-clear cinematic masterpiece. You can stream an endless loop on YouTube, perfectly shot, perfectly edited. It is high definition. It is flawless. It is content. But in 1966, the world was analog. And in New York City, the problem was real. Millions of people lived in cramped modern apartments. They had radiators, not hearths. They had no fireplace. And on Christmas Eve, this wasn't just a design problem, it was an emotional one. How can you have a real Christmas without a fire? WPIX, a local New York TV station, had an idea. It was Christmas Eve, and they wanted to give their staff the night off. But they couldn't just go dark. They needed to broadcast something. So they decided to give the city a gift, a televised Yule log. It was a simple, beautiful analog solution to an analog problem. For 4 solid hours, they would broadcast a close-up shot of a roaring fire, accompanied by classic carols. It was an instant sensation. Families gathered around it. It became the background for an entire city's Christmas. But this beloved 4-hour broadcast was hiding a secret, a technical fraud that everyone could see, but no one cared about. You see, they didn't film a 4-hour fire. They didn't have the budget, they didn't have the technology. In 1966, WPIX sent a small crew to Gracie Mansion, the mayor's home. They pointed a 16mm camera at a beautiful, roaring fireplace, and they filmed for 17 seconds. That's it. The entire 4-hour, citywide, beloved Christmas tradition was a 17-second loop of film. A single, tiny strip of celluloid, spooled through a projector. Over and over and over again, thousands of times. And because this was primitive, analog technology, it wasn't a seamless loop. There was a flaw. Every 17 seconds, there was a visible, jarring splice. A tiny jump in the film, where the loop ended and began again. And that became the magic. An entire generation of New Yorkers didn't just watch the fire. They watched for the splice. It was the shared secret, the tell, the charming, human, imperfect heartbeat of a primitive machine. So, what happened to this original broadcast? Why did it vanish? It wasn't killed. It was perfected to death. The technology simply got better. That original flawed 17-second, 16mm film loop was retired. It was replaced in the 1970s by a new recording on smoother, longer videotape. Then it was replaced by an HD version then a 4K version. The original, with its splice, its history, its 1966 grain, was gone. We traded the quirky, flawed, lovable hack for digital perfection. We got a 10-hour seamless fire, but we lost the splice. We lost the shared human secret. We've seen a shared experience vanish. But our final item isn't a tradition that vanished. Because of technology or law or taste, it was a tradition that vanished because we, as a society, were finally forced to grow up. The technology simply got better. That original, flawed, 17-second, 16mm film loop was retired. It was replaced in the 1970s by a new recording on smoother, longer videotape. Then it was replaced by an HD version, then a 4K version. The original, with its splice, its history, its 1966 grain, was gone. We traded the quirky, flawed, lovable hack for digital perfection. It was a tradition that vanished because we, as a society, were finally forced to grow up. Part 9. The Tire Tread Carols. Today, where do you get your Christmas music? It's invisible. It's an algorithm. You tap a button on Spotify, or you ask a smart speaker. The music just appears from the cloud. It is frictionless, effortless, and completely sterile. Now, rewind the clock. It's the 1960s. You're pulling into the local service station. The bell rings, ding ding, as your tires cross the cable. A man in a jumpsuit, logo stitched on his chest, comes out to greet you. The air smells like gasoline and cold winter air. You're here for an oil change. And you're here to buy the brand new exclusive Christmas album from the Supremes. This is not a joke. This is, without a doubt, one of the most bizarre and forgotten traditions of the 20th century, the gas station Christmas album. We are talking about Firestone, Goodyear, Gulf Oil. These gritty industrial companies were also in the record business. Every year, they would produce and release their own exclusive, high-quality Christmas albums. And this wasn't some generic, royalty-free music. They had stars. The biggest artists on the planet. We're talking A Very Merry Christmas from Firestone, featuring Julie Andrews, Johnny Cash, and the Carpenters. We're talking the Beach Boys and Diana Ross, all cutting exclusive tracks for a record you could only buy from the same guy wiping your windshield. So, why? Why did this surreal marriage of motor oil and Motown exist? It was a brilliant, bygone era of marketing. In the 60s, the gas station wasn't the impersonal, self-serve pump of today. It was a full-service center. The attendant was a trusted part of your community. This album was the ultimate loss leader. Firestone didn't make money selling a 99-cent record. They used the 99-cent record to get you into the service bay. You came in for the new Carpenters song, and you left with 4 new radial tires. It was a branding masterpiece. Firestone wasn't just a tire company, it was part of your family's Christmas. So what force on earth could kill this phenomenon? It was a fatal 1-2 punch. First, technology. The vinyl record's dominance was broken, first by the cassette, then the CD, and finally obliterated by streaming. The gas station was not equipped to become a multimedia store. But the real killer was the business model.
Across the country, the ongoing embargo has left thousands of motorists waiting hours for gasoline. Tensions are running high as supplies dwindle.
The full-service station became a relic. It was replaced by the cold, efficient, self-serve pump. The attendant was gone. The service bay was gone. And the entire ecosystem that allowed you to buy a Johnny Cash record with a tank of gas vanished with him. Today, the very concept feels like a fever dream. Buying a Motown record from a petroleum company? It's a perfect snapshot of a lost world. But while this was a bizarre form of commerce, our next item was a bizarre and almost hypnotic form of early technology. Part 10. The Liability Bonfire. Think about your modern office Christmas party. It's safe. It's probably at 2 p.m. on a Friday, in a brightly lit conference room. You'll have catered sandwiches, sparkling water, and maybe a 2-drink limit on cheap wine. Everyone is polite, everyone is professional, and everyone is gone by 4:30 p.m. It is a sterile, risk-managed, human resources-approved social gathering. Now, let us rewind the clock. Welcome to the 1960s. It's 5 p.m. on the last day before Christmas. And the doors to the office are not opening. They are being locked. This is the Mad Men-style office party. And it wasn't a gathering. It was a bonfire. The venue? Not some rented-out restaurant. It happened right there, among the desks, the typewriters, and the filing cabinets. We're talking endless, bottomless glasses of hard liquor. Scotch, bourbon, gin, vodka, served by secretaries to their bosses. And the air itself? It was thick, with smoke. Not just 1 or 2 people stepping outside. We're talking everyone, smoking cigarettes, cigars, right at their desks. It was a boozy, nicotine-fueled free-for-all. The rules? There were no rules. For this one night, the rigid corporate hierarchy was dissolved in a flood of alcohol. The boundaries between boss and secretary, professional and personal, became dangerously loose. It was wild. It was notorious. It was, by today's standards, an absolute catastrophe of human resources violations. It was the one night of the year when anything and everything could happen, and people loved it. It was a release valve for an entire year of corporate pressure. So, where did it go? Why is this legendary bacchanalian ritual now completely extinct? This tradition wasn't killed by a new technology. It wasn't replaced by a cheaper alternative. This tradition was systematically hunted and dismantled by culture itself. It was a death by 1,000 paper cuts from lawyers, doctors, and HR departments. First came health, the anti-smoking movement. By the 80s and 90s, the very idea of smoking inside a building, let alone an office, became toxic and then illegal. The smoke-filled room was the first casualty. Second came liability, the lawyers. What happens when a visibly intoxicated employee gets in his car and drives home? What happens when someone falls and breaks an arm? The company was suddenly on the hook. The legal and financial risk became massive. But the final fatal blow came from the rise of human resources. The cultural conversations changed. we began to talk about power dynamics, about professional boundaries, about sexual harassment. The Mad Men office party didn't just go out of style. It became unthinkable. It had to be tamed, sanitized, and neutered for the very survival of the companies that once hosted it. It was, in short, a tradition that was forced to die. Because we were finally forced to grow up.